Chance Wilkins aka Cyrax was a hideous small man that lived in the attic of his grandmother's house. He had no friends and was too busy arguing online with music biz Marty. "Fuck you, you piece of shit," yelled Cyrax to Marty, who was laughing at the goblin. "That's what you get for being the world's biggest asshole." Marty just rolled his eyes and continued playing his music. The annoying voice over the speakers made him want to scream. "How many times do I have to tell you?" he said as he kept on playing. "I don't care what you think, it doesn't matter to me." Cyrax was still screaming insults, but it was starting to lose effect since he couldn't even see Marty. "Well, I can't believe this garbage. How could your fans be so retarded? I mean, seriously. Are we fucking kidding here? You are just as much of a jerk as they are." Marty rolled his eyes and laughed. He knew he wasn't wrong, but he didn't care. Cyrax was always talking about himself, acting like he was better than everyone. Just then Cyrax's grandma came up to the lair. She looked frightfully furious. "Chance, shut up," she yelled. "No," Cyrax yelled back like a baby, which only made her angrier. She opened her mouth to yell some more but stopped when the goblin started playing a very catchy song. Her expression changed immediately. "What the hell?" she thought. "Oh my god, that fucking goblin is singing that song. What an ugly, disgusting little creature." Cyrax's grandma screamed, running out of the attic, leaving the small ugly man to yell at Marty some more. Marty found the whole affair hilarious. Cyrax was a fool and he loved seeing the chaos unfold. The goblin's stupid lyrics made his day when he saw that he was being ignored by one of his most powerful people. Cyrax was nothing to him but a tool that he used to make his own life easier. The goblins and his songs were the most important thing to him. They were the reason why he never left this place. "So Cyrax," Marty started, "why do you like kids?" Marty asked as if he genuinely cared. "I mean, I know all you really like honey ugly things, so I'm not exactly surprised. But other than that, you know, why do you have anything to do with kids in general?" Marty continued. "I don't know. You're a rapist, Cyrax. You shouldn't be near children," Marty warned. "And you shouldn't go around killing them." Cyrax fired back. "I did nothing wrong, I killed no one." "Yeah, well maybe not the original version of you, but there was definitely something going on," Cyrax argued. "You're jealous I am better than you. You live in an attic and you're hideous," Marty retorted. "And you play music that sounds like someone threw up on a dog's grave. Well, you are a disgusting, nasty little goblin," Marty said again. The goblin was beginning to grow tired of the constant insults. This was getting old fast. Cyrax had gotten sick of Marty's incessant bullshit and just gave up responding. He turned off his computer and went back to his room, where a few of his books were scattered over his bed. He started reading an old book on how human anatomy worked. It was boring, but he would read any book that helped him pass time. He didn't notice that someone was watching him from behind the dark corner of his attic door. He didn't notice the person until he spoke. "Hello, Cyrax," the figure said. Cyrax jumped up from the ground and slammed his book shut. "What the fuck?" Cyrax yelled, jumping onto the ladder and climbing down it, holding onto the wooden bars for dear life. He ran down the stairs, almost tripping twice before reaching the ground floor, panting loudly. "Who are you?" Cyrax demanded. "Show yourself or I'll call the police," Cyrax yelled. There was no response. There was someone hiding out in their house. Why else would they come into the attic? Cyrax's grandma would not tolerate anyone coming into her home unannounced, not even Cyrax. Cyrax's grandmother then came back up to see what the noise was about. "What's that smell?" she asked, walking up and smelling the air. Cyrax's heart skipped a beat and his throat went dry when she looked at him. "You've been smoking pot. Have you done drugs in our house? Where's your mom?" "She's dead," Cyrax reminded her, keeping calm, although he knew she could hear every breath he took. His grandma raised her eyebrow at his statement. "I haven't smoked pot in ages and my mom is dead," Cyrax defended himself. His grandma looked confused by his explanation. "Then who put that weird smell in the house?" It's me," Cyrax confessed. "I've been living here." The lie slipped easily off his tongue. His grandma shook her head. "Well, you need to clean up your act. That sort of behavior isn't good for someone like you. Now get out of my house," she yelled at him. She chucked Cyrax out of the attic and into the outside world. Alone and cold, Cyrax wandered the Ohio streets with people screaming at the sight of his appearance. He was filthy, dirty and disheveled. There was a bandage stuck in his hair and a bloody wound on his leg. A lot of kids walked past him, looking away. Cyrax didn't bother to look up and he kept on walking, hoping that nobody would stop and ask questions. The less attention he attracted, the better. Cyrax eventually reached his destination, an abandoned apartment building that looked pretty bad. There were broken windows everywhere, graffiti covering the walls, and everything smelled terrible. He sighed to himself and entered the front door. No point in turning black now that he'd arrived. As soon as he stepped inside, Cyrax felt as if a huge weight was taken off of his shoulders. The scent of molding, mildew and dampness filled his nostrils and made his stomach churn. It smelt like an animal that died in the dumpster. "This place stinks." Cyrax was already missing the days of raping blind children and small dogs. He missed his computer and, worst of all, his trolls. He missed his music and his stupid lyrics that didn't seem like they were worth it anymore. The only sound heard in the empty hallway was Cyrax's feet slapping against the wood floor. He walked down the hallways, his heart pounding heavily in his chest. "I should be famous," Cyrax complained to himself, as he finally reached the door in the middle of the hallway. "But all I have is this piece of shit house and a bunch of shitty friends, so who cares? My parents won't even give me money for food. How the fuck could I make any career without a single penny?" Cyrax thought angrily, banging his fist against the wall angrily. He wanted to scream at the top of his lungs, but he knew that if he woke anyone else up that he'd end up in jail, and he needed all the help he could get to make sure that didn't happen. His thoughts drifted to his grandmother. Why does she hate me? Does she ever smile? I wish I had someone nice in this house instead of her. Cyrax's train of thought was interrupted by the sound of heavy rain. A loud clap of thunder echoed through the entire building. Cyrax was glad to have a reason to leave the room. He walked into another hall and stopped in front of yet another door. It seemed to lead to the basement. He opened it carefully, expecting to find his usual stash. He was shocked to say the least. Instead of a stash full of bottles and beer, he found piles and piles of old and rotten newspapers, magazines and pictures of women and men in compromising positions. Cyrax covered his mouth with his hands to prevent himself from screaming like a little girl. Fuck. 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 He was aroused by the horrifying imagery. He was a sick fuck who liked to rape little girls. His blood pressure started rising rapidly. Cyrax closed his eyes and tried to compose himself and stop hyperventilating in the process. He couldn't believe what he was seeing. What the fuck were these papers doing in a place like this? And why did he even have these pictures? Cyrax didn't want to think too hard about how those images affected him. He grabbed one random magazine from a stack, flipping through the pages quickly to avoid any more images from the pile. Cyrax's breathing got heavier and his mind began to spin. My fucking life is over, Cyrax thought, clutching onto the magazine in his hand. He wasn't prepared for the next scene. The image caused him to fall backwards onto the cold concrete floor, dropping the magazine on the way down. The images followed him down, landing on his body. Some of them landed directly in his face, some on his stomach, and some even ended up inside his mouth and throat. Cyrax tried to cover himself, but they kept sliding off his skin. Oh fuck. Oh God. Cyrax groaned, feeling tears start to form in his eyes. Chance. Chance. Wake up. It was his grandma. Cyrax woke up in his bed. It was all a dream. He sat up slowly, still holding on to his blanket tightly in his hands. How long did I sleep for? Why am I still here? Why did I dream such things? Cyrax asked himself. He remembered the nightmare vividly. Cyrax had been having those dreams all his life, since his first birthday party. He always saw people suffering, dying or being raped, and he couldn't do anything to help them. The dream had been so real that it had scared him awake, leaving him alone and trembling from all the fear and anxiety. Cyrax stared into space for a few minutes, trying to think of what happened while he slept. All he could remember was the last thing his grandma told him. Leave me alone. That's all. Cyrax wondered why he even cared. He didn't care when he strangled her or got beaten up by everyone around him. When Cyrax realized he didn't care, the pain in his shoulder began to throb again. Cyrax stood up from his bed, making his way to his bathroom. He went to the toilet and missed most of the seat on purpose. He then turned on the light, grabbing one of the many boxes in the corner of the room. Inside the box was a pair of pliers. No matter what happens tomorrow, I can never let her forget what I did today. Cyrax thought to himself as he picked out a razor blade from one of the boxes and a bag from the other one. He then set about preparing to shave the remaining pieces of his scabs off of his arms and legs. Once his arms and legs were free, Cyrax pulled off the shirt that he was wearing and tossed it into the garbage before pulling out some fresh clothes. He threw open the closet doors to reveal rows upon rows of white dresses with red flowers embroidered on each one. Cyrax smirked at the memory of what he used to wear. Yeah, nothing like being a princess. I can dress myself just fine. But I'll bet she would love it. Cyrax thought to himself as he pulled out a pink frilly dress with black lace all across it. He wore it to a couple of parties, and his boyfriends were always impressed by the color. Cyrax also loved his purple and blue high tops. I guess that'll have to be enough for now, Cyrax thought as he grabbed his toothbrush, comb, toothpaste and then inserted it into his anus, scrubbing it vigorously until the bristles were stained crimson. He spit out the contents of his mouth and put it into the trash can, closing the lid after he did. Then he walked out of the bathroom and headed towards his bedroom to change out of his old clothes into the new ones. You know I can hear you, right? Cyrax turned to his computer and saw that he had left it on for Music Biz Marty to hear the whole fiasco. Of course I did. And you think it's funny? You think it makes me happy? Cyrax shrugged his shoulders. You are an asshole, Cyrax, you know that. Cyrax rolled his eyes. I don't give a fuck. You don't understand what I go through every single day. Every day I'm reminded that there are people out there that will kill me for not living up to their expectations. You think that I enjoy being treated like I'm less than everyone? Cyrax's voice became higher pitched. I deserve to be famous. Fuck you, Marty. I've worked harder than all of you. more than you'll ever work. And yet you treat me the exact same way you always did. And it pisses me off. So please take back your stupid insults and tell me the truth. Are you okay? Did something happen yesterday? Why pick on me, Marty? Marty chuckled as he watched the crooked man rage. It's pathetic, Cyrax, really. You think I don't notice when people walk away angry or upset because of something I said? They're all afraid of me, and rightfully so. I'm the devil. I am the personification of destruction. People call me a demon. I don't care. Marty lied. Oh really, Marty? You're the fucking devil. Oh please. Cyrax growled. The only way anyone could ever see you that way is if he has no sense of smell. It doesn't matter if we both share the same DNA and of the same physical appearance. You will never be able to compare to me. I'm better than you, you bastard. Cyrax, you live in an attic. You're a nobody. Everyone hates you, even your dogs hate you. You eat children, you creepy goblin, Marty explained to the dumbfounded Cyrax. This shit again. Cyrax thought to himself, rolling his eyes once again. But that's not enough, Cyrax. I'm better than everyone, you know it. I have friends, I have family, I'm rich and I have everything. Everyone else hate you. Marty pressured some more. Cyrax listened, his rage boiling. Well, I'm sorry that I'm not exactly the perfect little boy you dreamed I was. Sorry for being a bitch for no reason. But I'd rather be hated than to have to watch my mom die every day from starvation or disease, just like you did. Wait, when did that happen? Marty asked, confused. Trust me, it did, bitch. Cyrax lied. Your mother is dead, Marty retorted. Shut the fuck up. Cyrax growled in anger, finally reaching the end of his fuse. His grandmother was going crazy downstairs, and he didn't want to risk waking her up. She had probably already gotten up twice today. She didn't need more headaches. Cyrax knew what he needed to do. He had seen how the rest of the world reacted to Marty whenever he came across him. He wanted Marty to stop coming near his home, which led to many arguments between them, but Cyrax never understood why. He just couldn't understand how someone would treat him this way. Then an idea popped into his head. He figured he could try to hack into Marty's computer as they argued through the internet. Cyrax grinned widely as he pulled up Marty's computer and started to access the files Marty kept hidden in his system. There you go. What were you thinking? How could you even think to get a hold of my password? You stupid piece of shit. I could have killed you with ease. I already beat you up, you midget. Marty snapped back. You idiot. If you weren't so arrogant, you would have known that I already hacked into your computer, but instead of giving a shit you decided to come here anyway. That's too bad. Cyrax laughed maniacally inside his head. Cyrax found Marty's files. It was full of indecent images of women, men, animals, and some of their sexual fantasies. Cyrax couldn't believe that he was such a pervert. Why can't I find anything bad in these files? There has to be something worse somewhere, doesn't there? Cyrax. Marty began, but Cyrax wasn't listening. He was pulling up files to beat Marty, and every time that Cyrax looked down, Marty would pull him up by his neck, causing him to lose his concentration and look back down on the screen. Cyrax. Marty shouted louder this time. Cyrax shook his head as he uploaded the files to the live stream. Look at this, Marty, you're a sick fuck. All these files are from your computer. I beat you, Cyrax declared. Unexpectedly, Marty laughed his head off. Cyrax, that's your files and your IP address, you dumb fuck. You just did that on live stream. That's evidence to your own crimes. Marty continued laughing his head off. I mean, who does something like that? Do you even realize what kind of damage that might do? Cyrax stood silent as he processed what Marty had just told him. Then Cyrax realized something else. He didn't know how to hack and instead just went to his own computer documents. He was an idiot. Why didn't he think of that? But still, Marty was right. The damage Cyrax could cause by having those files would be catastrophic. It was almost as if Cyrax was possessed by demons and was doing horrible things with his hands. What am I supposed to do? How do I fix this? Cyrax thought as he sat his hand to his head. I can't go to jail. I won't let that happen. Cyrax thought to himself as he got off his seat and quickly made his way downstairs. When Cyrax got downstairs, he saw that Cyrax had woken his grandparents. They must have been waiting for an explanation as to what he was planning on doing and where he had gone off to. Hey Grandpa, hey Grandma, I have good news and bad news. Which do you want first? Cyrax inquired. Good news, obviously. The bad news is whatever you are about to say is going to bring trouble, Cyrax's grandmother answered. Yeah, well, the good news is that I didn't do anything wrong. That was all on Marty, Cyrax stated proudly. Really now? Bad news is the cops are coming, Cyrax informed. 10 years later. Marty walked around Cyrax's room looking over everything one last time before leaving his childhood home forever. The place didn't feel familiar to him anymore, it was just filled with memories of Cyrax's life. Everything that was once there seemed so much smaller, so much less important. Marty sighed as he closed the door behind him. He had left Cyrax's house without saying goodbye. He hadn't even bothered to ask Cyrax if he was all right. He had just left without a word. Marty felt guilty for leaving Cyrax alone, but he couldn't help but laugh at the memories he had. He looked around the rat-infested dungeon and felt bad for the goblin. Suddenly there was some rattling from under the bed. Marty leaned over to take a closer look where the crooked teeth of the goblin shone and leaped out, yelling at the top of his lungs. Fuck you, Marty! Cyrax yelled in a high-pitched voice after hitting Marty in the face. Okay, cool, Marty muttered and ran for it. He was infected from the bite. Marty made sure to leave Cyrax's house before he called the cops, or he had to put the small creature down. The police arrived and pulled out guns on Cyrax. I thought you weren't supposed to be here, he screamed, waving his scabby arms about. And you took a bloody nose. I'll kill you if you touch my dad, and my mum, and my dog. Fuck you. Fuck. 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 Cyrax screeched, then the police officers handcuffed him. After that, Cyrax went to prison for a very long time and was never heard from again. The end.